Hey, howdy, hi, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by to join me today. I really do appreciate it. My name is Ellie, and I'm a witch, and this over here is my teaching assistant, Andy, and today is Tuesday, and on my channel it means it is tea time and true crime. And today's true crime case is the case of Lonnie Franklin, aka the Grim Sleeper. If you're not interested in true crime, however, I do have two other series that I do on my channel. On Sundays, I talked about cryptids, and on Mondays, I talked about history. This week, I talked about Mississippi for cryptids, and then yesterday, I talked about foods that you may eat that are poisonous. I did just want to say, really quick, trigger warning. This video contains some stuff that is unpleasant, to say the least. There is mentions of sexual assault, murder, uh, dismissal of sex workers when it comes to crimes, and just police being dumb. So if any of that is something that you don't want to hear, I completely understand. Go ahead and click out of the video. I'm sure there's something else on my channel that you could watch. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into talking about Lonnie Franklin. So I did just want to start with a little bit of background on him and his prior crimes. So he was born August 20th of 1952, and he grew up in Los Angeles, and that's actually where he met his wife, and then they had two children there. Now his first known crime occurred in 1974 while he was serving in the military. He was stationed in Stuttgart, Germany, where he and several other servicemen stopped a young teenage girl and offered her a ride home. She accepted the offer, but when she got into the vehicle, a knife was placed against her throat and the group took her to a field. She was then gang raped by the men who took pictures of the attack. Now, the girl was able to feign interest in Franklin enough to get his phone number before she managed to get away. When she did, she made her way to the police, where she gave them his phone number and they found him through that. He was discharged from the military the following year due to this incident. He would also later go on to be charged in 1989 with 2 counts of theft, 1 count of misdemeanor assaults, and 1 count of battery, though he was only convicted of 1 count of theft. So now I'll explain the investigation as the police were actually investigating, so it's kind of unnecessary information to Franklin, but still part of the case. So in the mid-80s, LAPD noticed what they thought was a serial killer. The killer was dubbed the South Side Slayer after stabbing and strangling 13 sex workers in just 2 years. These murders were also known as the Strawberry Murders because apparently strawberry is a slang term for sex workers who exchange sex for drugs. Now, it wasn't until the end of 1985 that the LAPD held a press conference about the murders. Following this, the police were heavily criticized for not alerting the public sooner to a serial killer. People also pointed out the clear disregard for these victims that the police showed. Around the same time as these killings were taking place, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was active, and all of the attention went to those attacks and that investigation. The difference in those cases was the victims, they were white couples, while the sex workers were all black. Police, of course, denied any allegations of racism or indifference due to profession, wealth, or skin color. By the beginning of 1986, 15 more murders were attributed to the Southside Slayer. This caused the LAPD to create a South Side Slayer task force. The progress was finally being made by late 1986. It was noted there was different MOs in the 28 cases, meaning there was more than one killer. So the task force thought it was 4 or more serial killers, but the task force was not making progress beyond that theory, and it was downsized in 1987. In the following years, however, the multiple serial killers theory was proven. So Lewis Crane was responsible for 2 of the Southside Slayer killings. Michael Hughes, Daniel Lee Seibert, Chester Turner, and Ivan Hill were all responsible for at least one of the murders each. It's also believed that some of the killings were done by the girls' pimps or clients and unrelated to the serial murders. A sheriff's detective, Ricky Ross, was charged with 3 of the Southside Slayer murders. However, he was not convicted of the killings, meaning those 3 cases are unsolved. By 2007, though, only 12 murders were linked to the Grim Sleeper, and they did this via DNA. In 2008, a reward was posted for any information on the killings or the killer, and that same year, there was an episode about the killer on the show America's Most Wanted. Now, in 2009, a 911 call was released to the public. The call took place in the 80s, and the caller reported seeing a man dumping a body. He gave a detailed description of a van and even a partial license plate number. And then again in 2009, an interview with the only surviving victim of the Grand Sleeper, Anitra Washington, took place. She described the killer as, quote, a black man in his early 30s. He looked neat, tidy, kind of geeky. He wore a black polo shirt tucked into khaki trousers, end quote. She was also able to give a detailed description of the interior and exterior of his vehicle. So the crimes took place in the time before it was required to collect DNA when someone is arrested, so Franklin avoided detection even though he had been arrested several times. His son, however, did not avoid getting swabbed. When the DNA was entered into the system, a partial match was brought up for the murders. The police had to be sure it was Franklin, though, so officers posed as waiters at a restaurant Franklin frequented and collected his DNA off of his glass and silverware. It was then, in 2010, that Franklin was arrested in relation to the murders. Police ended up finding over 1,000 photos and several hundred hours of video of the attacks. They also released 180 photos in hopes of someone recognizing the women, as they were unable to identify them themselves. Franklin was charged with 10 counts of murder and 1 attempted murder. The trial started in February of 2016, and closing arguments were in early May of the same year. It took the jury a day and a half to return a verdict of guilty on all counts. On June 6, 2016, a jury sentenced Franklin to death. Then, on August 10, 2016, the Superior Court sentenced Franklin on each count, naming the victims. On March 28, 2020, Franklin was found dead in his cell. There appeared to be no foul play, but an autopsy report and final cause of death have yet to be released to the public. Now, I don't know how I feel about releasing victims' names. I I'm on the fence. I'm very torn between it's remembering and honoring them and not letting a killer take the spotlight, but also I don't know if it's disrespectful to the victims' families. I'm going to name the victims in this case, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below as to how I should do this going forward, because I am really torn. So, police believe that the following victims are those of the Grim Sleeper, though Franklin was not charged with all of these murders. So, Sharon Alicia Dismule, 21, Deborah Ronette Jackson, 29, Henrietta Wright, 35, Thomas Sylvester Steele, 36, Barbara Bethune Ware, 23, Bernita Rochelle Sparks, 26, Mary Catherine Lowe, also 26, Latricia Denise Jefferson, 22, Inez Elizabeth Warren, 28, Monique Alicia Alexander, 18, Anitra Margette Washington, 30, Georgia May Thomas, 43, Princess Cheyenne Bartholomew, 15, Valerie Louise McCorvey, 35, Aaliyah Dezat Marshall, 18, Rolina Adele Morris, 31, and Jenica Lovette Peters, 17. The families of 4 missing girls believe Franklin to be their killer, but the police have not made a statement on their own belief. So those 4 girls are Catherine Davis, 32, Rosalind Giles, 26, Lisa Renee Knox, 28, and Anita Yolanda Parker, 37. So that's all I have for you today. A little bit shorter of a case, but still really sad. It's a lot of victims, and even more so that it took 13 murders for the police to say, hey, be careful out there. Even if, you dismiss sex workers, there are still other people who are out on the street. You don't necessarily know that they're only and will only target street workers. So I think that was just dumb, and I completely understand why people were criticizing the police for withholding that information. So that was weird to me, but we all know how cops treat sex workers. But I digress. Like I said, please let me know if, what your thought is on naming victims. In some cases, I feel that it is necessary, and in others, I don't necessarily, but I am really torn because I understand both sides of the argument. Just say it, don't say it, that kind of thing. So let me know what you guys think so I know what to do going forward. Also, if you have any ideas for TikTok videos, I think I want to start TikTok, but I don't know if I want to do more about like me, just random facts. Probably if I were to do that, I'd keep it history related. But with all of that being said, I hope. Nope, we're skipping ahead. Okay, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and say things in the comments. And if you didn't, hit that dislike button and tell me what you think I can improve. I appreciate constructive criticism. And with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.